everybody, welcome to Owl Zone, a weekly sports update where we bring you the latest info and highlights on your Kennesaw State Owls. We're your hosts. I'm Danielle Jackson.
And I'm Savannah Pratt. In case you missed any of the action from this week, we've got you covered. Let's kick this episode off with a recap of what happened this week in Owl Nation.
The softball team returned to action this week. On Tuesday, the Owls hosted Troy for a doubleheader, where the women topped the Trojans 4-0 in the first game and 3-1 in the second. KSU traveled to Georgia State on Thursday and fell 11-3 to the Panthers. On Saturday, the Owls opened up a 3-game series against conference foe Jacksonville. The women took a 3-1 setback to the Dolphins in the first game, but ended the weekend on a 2-game win streak, topping Jacksonville 7-6 in the second game and 9-8 in the third. KSU will return to action on Wednesday, April 1st, to take on Georgia Tech at the Bailey Softball Complex.
Baseball hosted Georgia Southern at Stillwell Stadium. Despite dropping the game 8-4 to the Eagles, sophomore Chris Irwin finished the game 2-4 with an RBI. Then it was off to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs at Foley Field. After a tough competition, the Owls fell to the Dogs 9-5. Next, Kennesaw State hosted USC Upstate in a 3-game series. On Friday, the Owls defeated the Spartans 5-0. Not only was the victory a great start to the series, but also a history-making moment. After 24 years coaching at Kennesaw State, this game marked head coach Mike Sansing's 1,000th career win.
Standing here with Coach Sansing, head baseball coach at Kennesaw State. Coach, congratulations, 1,000 wins, 3 colleges, 2 national championships. Is this a fitting milestone for a storied career?
Oh, well, it just says a lot about the caliber player we've been able to bring in here, and so many people involved. So it's a great night.
The Owls dropped the game 6-5 on Saturday, then wrapped up the week defeating Upstate 12-8 on Sunday. You can watch the Owls at home this week as they take on Western Carolina on Tuesday, March 31st.
The men's and women's track and field team headed across town over the weekend to compete in the Yellow Jacket Invitational at Georgia Tech. The Owls put together a solid performance overall, and a couple of school records were set. Josh Morter set a new school record in the 400-meter hurdles, recording a time of 51.96 seconds. Morgan Campbell made her way into the record books in the triple jump with a mark of 12.26 meters. Track and field will be back in action on Thursday, April 2nd, to compete in the Florida Relays in Gainesville, Florida. The lacrosse team hit the road this week to open up Atlantic Sun play. On Wednesday, the women took a 19-8 setback to Furman, and on Sunday, the Owls fell to Detroit 21-9. Lacrosse will be back at Fifth Third Bank Stadium on Thursday, April 2nd, to host the Howard Bison.
Despite the chilly temperatures, enthusiastic fans came out decorated in black and gold to root for the Owls. Football wrapped up their spring practice by competing in a scrimmage called the Black and Gold Game in front of 3,800 cheering fans. After an exciting competition, the Gold team took home the victory 21-0.
We're just so far from where we were in the fall. It's not even close. It's like a completely different football team. Now, we're not game ready by any means, but we're completely different we were in the fall.
On September 3rd, the Owls will create another moment in KSU history as they face East Tennessee in their first football game.
The women's tennis team traveled to Jacksonville, Florida on Thursday to face conference opponent North Florida. The women fell 4-0 to the Ospreys before returning home to complete the weekend with a 5-2 loss to South Florida. The Owls will return to the courts on Thursday, April 2nd, to face Northern Kentucky and Highland Heights, Kentucky.
Men's tennis faced North Florida on the road and fell 4-0 to the Ospreys. The Owls brought home the doubles point at the number 3 position. Despite dropping a tough 4-3 match to the Georgia Tech Jackets on Sunday, the Owls dominated by recording the doubles point. Simon Pritchard and Alejandro Valencia brought home the singles point against 2 ranked opponents in the number 1 and number 2 position. Next, the men's tennis team will take on Northern Kentucky on the road on April 2nd.
We hope you all enjoy your spring break. Be sure to tune in on Tuesday, April 14th for a season recap of Owl Zone.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at KSU Owl Vision to be the first to see next week's episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at KSU Owl Nation and like us on Facebook at Kennesaw State Owls.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Owl Zone.
I'm Danielle Jackson.
And I'm Savannah Pratt. And as always,
Go Owls!